Reddit is where it's at right now. Not saying that it's going to be the place a year or two from now. Hopefully it will be, because it's a great community in general. And now there's just this huge list of the other guys. I'm just going to talk about a couple right now. Probably the most common true social bookmarking platform is Delicious. And I think there were rumors going around, I don't know if it's confirmed, that Delicious was going to be sold. Page 37 homepage, fantastic. Unfortunately, they don't follow me. Now, does this mean that we shouldn't target Delicious? Absolutely not. The truth is that Delicious's top 10 is syndicated more across the web than Dig's, which means that if you get to the front page or the popular section of Delicious, you can expect to get links from tons and tons of people across the web. So it's a fantastic place to go, and most importantly, it is ridiculously easy to gain. Since Delicious is currently owned by Yahoo, anybody with a Yahoo account can vote on a story, which means that there are just masses and masses of people out there who are capable of being paid a minute sum of money to actually vote on your story. And just before we go on, buy links, buy votes, do whatever it takes. It's a competition. I disagree with the other people. If it's too risky, build another site and do it on that one. And if that's too risky, build another site and just keep doing it. Honestly, churn and burn, and then reinvest your money back in your white hat property. And by the end of the year, you've got the best property and a ton of ranking properties. When Google figures out those things, they ban all your properties, except your white hat one just moves to the top. That's fantastic. The next one, this is actually my favorite network personally. It's called Climb. It's page rank 5. It's a very, very small community, and everything they talk about is super strange and weird. Which means that if you can come up with anything super strange and weird about your product or your business, then you can get to the front page of Climb. The catch-all here is that it is an eclectic group of individuals, and they are very keen and savvy to what we do. You have to be careful, especially on these niche networks that are actually maintained by individuals who care about it. Coolest thing about Climb, though, is that they keep karma of successful stories, and after a while of just submitting like the WTF or the weird and strange section of Yahoo News or something, eventually you'll build up enough points that you can actually promote yourself to the front page just by submitting, because you've got enough karma money. The final one that people always ask about is Stumble Upon. And there's this big question mark about links, because Stumble Upon is nearly impossible to crack in terms about whether or not Stumble users who actually visit the site and vote on you actually end up bringing you links. We've run numerous campaigns trying to flag specific URLs using query strings that say Stumble Upon, etc., to make sure that traffic is coming from Stumble Upon, and then check our backlinks. Inevitably, if you stumble it, somebody in there is going to submit it to another site and taint your story, or taint your data, so you're not going to be able to tell whether that story generated links because it was now on Dig or because it was on Stumble Upon originally. And then there's the other guys. So there's this free open source software called Plague. It's a Dig clone that anybody can install. And it's really become the spammer's favorite target now. They're just software after software after software that just blast across thousands and thousands and thousands of these sites. But if you run a brand, if you actually care about your website, you really can't just load it into AutoPlague or all of the other tools that actually do it and just spam 1,000 sites or 10,000 sites and expect not to do a little bit of damage to your reputation. So what we recommend is actually being really selective about it. The truth is there are a ton of networks that are based on Plague that don't even look like Dig sites. They get high page ranks that are actively used, but really only require 5 or 10 votes to get to the front page. So what we did for you, and there's a link to it at the last page, is two things. First off, we spotted 6,000 Plague sites for their Moz rank, and we had to use Moz rank because eventually Google gets tired of you asking for page rank over and over and over again from the same server. So we acquired it for 6,000. We looked at whether or not they follow the links, which is something that they can turn on and off in the software, and also whether or not they use a URL rewriting module, which makes it so that outbound links look like they're on the same site, which is something that they do. So you can actually go through this data and find places where submitting. Did it for you two ways. First off, there's a Google custom search engine. I'll give you a link at the end where you just type in your keyword and it'll find of the top 500 sites based on mouse rank that meet these good link metrics, which ones are worth submitting to. And then also we just give you the complete data set. It's just 6,000 line CSV file, so you should be able to open it just about anything. So we're going to skip a really big section here, and that's creativity. The truth is that if you can't come up with something that's interesting or hire somebody to do it for you, you're not going to succeed in social marketing. But I can't use slides to teach you that. In fact, a creative person who hasn't actually spent a lot of time on these networks couldn't really tell you what's going to succeed. So the assumption here is that you're going to go out and either do it yourself and take the time to come up with something creative, or hire a firm to do it for you. Probably not my company. We're more on the execution side. But there are tons of great sources out there for creating infographics or great content. But really what we're interested in is taking that content and actually making it successful. I'm going to talk about three things, or three different ways to go about this. We're going to start with white hat strategies for the boring people in the room. We're going to move to the gray hat strategies for the people who are sort of on the wall, and then we're going to move to what I call the awesome hat section, which is actually a hell of a lot more interesting. And the like 5 people who walk away from this and actually accomplish anything with it, they're awesome. They do the awesome hat stuff. The first thing that we want to do is talk about viral incubation. So you've got this great content, you've submitted it to Dig, Reddit, Delicious, all of these sites. You called up your mom and said, hey, go vote on this for me. And you've instant messaged all your friends. You pissed off Rand because you've just sent them like 10 tweets saying, vote on this, vote on this, vote on this. And you're still not getting all the traction that you need. So one of the things that we recommend immediately to all white hat companies is to use real-time analytics. I'm pretty sure everybody here has either Google Analytics or Omniture or some other type of tool to track what's going on their site. But the issue with all of that is that it's normally an 8 to 24-hour delay between when the traffic hits and when it actually gets processed. Unfortunately, if you know anything about social media networks, you have a 24-hour span, generally, to get to the front. If you don't in that 24 hours, the algorithms that essentially divide votes by time become nearly impossible to go over. I think I remember maybe 2 or 3 stories in the history of Dig that ever made it to the front page after 24 hours. So what real-time analytics allows you to do is capture what's going on in the community immediately and respond to it, be proactive. So the first thing we actually like to do is what we call forum discussion incubation. First off, just to backtrack a little bit, there's a fantastic free tool called Clicky. You can install on your site. It won't get in the way of Google Analytics. And there are some upgrades that are, I think are personally worth paying for, but there is a free version that will do most of what we talk about today. And that's the examples that I'm going to be giving. So forum discussion incubation. I know it's hard to believe, but people still use discussion boards all the time. And they're all across the web. In fact, one of the most shocking things, and I've only got to thank Chris Winfield for this, if you ever heard him speak, fantastic guy. He was the one who pointed out to me, it's like, look, all of this stuff is sort of incubating in the discussion forum level. It gets posted to Dig, and one guy votes on it and goes and talks about it with his buddy in that really specific niche discussion board that's been around for 8, 10 years. So we need to capture that, and we can't really expect you to find all of these discussion boards, all of these little conversations that are going on across the internet on the fly, unless you're actually tracking where your traffic is coming from throughout the sources. So what we do is we watch for inbound traffic from forums, so you can find conversations across the web that you can nudge in certain directions. Now you do have to be careful about this. You can't just go in, have 5 buddies sign up, and then just all like, oh, this infographic is awesome. I totally agree. We should go vote on this. It's just not going to work that way. Especially since you're a new user. Be polite. These discussion groups really do care about what's going on in their forums, and they will pay attention and they will sniff you out. So if you do register, they'll comment on a couple of other things. And really your goal here is not to encourage these people to necessarily go vote. Your goal is to make sure that that forum thread remains the most popular on the forum for the next 24 hours. Which means that your comment doesn't need to have anything indicative of you supporting it. In fact, you could write something slightly negative if you want to, and then have somebody respond and counteract and say, actually, I looked at the data source and it's slightly better. Just get that conversation rolling in the discussion forums. And you do need to regularly comment on the thread to keep the story hot and live. If you just go in and do it once, it's going to move up, but whatever else is going on in the discussion board is going to take over. And then finally, we'll talk more about this in the follow-through section. Most importantly, when you're done, campaign's over, go in and write a post or a response to that thread and say, hey, you should go to the original source now. I'm sure Dick will take it down eventually or something like that. So it's a fantastic way to at least give one back. The next thing that we can do is actually start to look at some of the other God, I hate to use this